Hi, it's Sarah here from Thriving Solo, and today I want to talk to you about the top 10 mistakes to avoid when you're starting your own solo healthcare practice. I ran my own solo acupuncture clinic previously, but this advice applies as well to other holistic and healthcare providers that are running their own solo clinic. So I think it will apply no matter what sort of healthcare background you've got. So we're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes that can trip you up and how you can sidestep them, basically. You're not alone. Nobody expects you to know all of this yet. We've all probably made some of these mistakes, maybe all of them. So it's worth just sort of bearing these things in mind when you're getting set up. So mistake number one is skipping your own business plan. Although a business plan might seem a little bit much when you're just running your own clinic, it is important so that you know whether you're on track or not. You still need some kind of blueprint to know where you're going if you've got there. And again, at the beginning, that might not seem very important because you just want to get going. But it's worth starting off even with a very basic business plan. It doesn't have to be a whole novel. It can just be a page or two of notes of what you want to do and how you'll know when you've got there. It's good to pick at least one thing to measure, That might be, the number of client visits that you get a week. If you're just starting out, it might not even be client visits. It might be the number of leads that you can get in a week. So whenever you feel a little bit lost or you just need a little bit of motivation, it's worth going back to that business plan. And to be quite honest, I'm becoming back to business planning because it's one of those things that I wish that I'd perhaps tracked a little bit more in the beginning. I got there in the end, but like I say, it feels a little bit over much at the beginning, and it's not. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Mistake number two is underestimating the startup costs for your business. The cost of supplies, you're probably aware of that, but there's also going to be things like the cost of furniture. For my own acupuncture clinic, I wanted a couch and I wanted one that was going to be sort of a hydraulic lift so that I could protect my back. So it's one of those things that you're going to need to look and find what sort of items are you going to need in your clinic? What are the basics that you just can't do without? And some kind of treatment table is usually up there for us. And those costs can add up quickly. So make a basic list of, what you need to get started and what would be nice to have maybe as you go along. Budget for a few months of fairly lean times early on because the hidden costs can add up quickly. Mistake number three is not having clear boundaries for your time. If you've set every hour to available, then you're probably going to fill it either with clients or with paperwork or all those other different hats that we wear. So you need to make sure that you're setting yourself time that isn't business so that you can rest and recharge for yourself. Pick your working hours and make sure that you tell people what they are. Put those on your website, on your door, on your calendar. Make sure family and friends know what those hours are as well. Mistake number 4 is forgetting about insurance and licensing. This is a really important one. Licenses, insurance can feel, like they're just part of the paperwork. But if you skip this step, then that's pretty risky. You need to make sure that you've got all the regulatory things in order ahead of time. Check what your area requires. It can vary so much from one area to another. Here in the UK, I had friends that were living just a few miles away that had pretty different regulations to what I had here in Scarborough. And you don't want a nasty surprise later on. Hang your licence in your clinic. The bonus here is that it makes you look more professional. It reassures your clients that you are doing things professionally, that you know what you're doing. So it's an important one. Mistake number 5, I've covered this before, is not tracking your money. And if you look back at my video about things that I wish that I'd known when setting up, and like I said, I did actually know this one, I just didn't implement it. A shoebox of receipts isn't really a system, and it's going to cause you a lot more work down the line. So keep some sort of simple system in addition to the shoebox, not instead of, just in addition. Even if it's a very simple piece of paper, spreadsheet, make sure that you're tracking spending and income. If you don't, then you're not going to necessarily get all the tax deductibles that you're due, or people might think, the taxman might think that you're trying to defraud. So make sure that you've got some sort of simple system to keep tracking it. And pay yourself. Even if it's just a small bit, you're working for it. Mistake number 6 is relying on word of mouth. Word of mouth is an absolutely excellent way to grow your business. I'm not saying don't go down that road. And people who love you and get to know you and really appreciate the work you do with them, they will tell their friends. But sometimes you need to get out to a wider audience than just those people. Get a simple website set up with your hours, your location and your prices, and contact details, obviously. Connect with other fellow professionals that are in the area. And like I've said on another video, you want to make sure that you're collaborating and not competing. And that's really easy to do, because most of us will be specialising at least a little. So what one acupuncturist in the area does is not quite the same as another acupuncturist in the area. And I did talk about how we did cover for holidays, referrals, because it was a different specialism. But also think a little bit outside your particular profession. So I, as an acupuncturist, also knew massage therapists in the area, chiropractors, so that if my acupuncture treatment wasn't having the desired effect, I could refer people to try something else. Mistake number 7 is trying to do everything yourself. As a solo health practitioner, we wear a lot of hats. And sometimes we do have to do a lot of those jobs ourselves, but there are other times when you might be able to outsource something. You can pay part-time for somebody to come in and clean for you. You can hire a bookkeeper or an accountant. So there are other areas that you can get some help, some support, without having to do everything yourself. And it could be that you could join together with other practitioners in your area. As I said, for supervision, we had a group supervision. Supervision, I talked about this in another video, supervision for acupuncturists in the UK is more about coaching and mentoring rather than actually being there and supervising the work that you do. But a group supervision setup meant it was a lower cost for us. So that can really help as well. Mistake number 8 is ignoring your own burnout. So if you are giving and giving, you're providing your healthcare treatments to your clients, you're running to the non-clinical side of your business, you can easily end up running on empty. Build self-care into your routine each day. Not only is this important to help you avoid the burnout, but it's also an opportunity to show your clients how they can use self-care in their daily lives to improve and reinforce the treatment that you're giving them. So self-care to me is not just about me, it's about providing a great example for clients as well. Mistake number 7 is not setting or raising your fees. It's very easy, particularly in the beginning, to feel like you need to lower your price because you're new, you want to get more clients in the door, so you may be willing to undercut other providers in the area. It's not the best way, and if you are going to offer your services for a lower price, then I would very much recommend saying that it's a discounted price. Make sure that you're not going to the bottom of the pile, that you're not racing to the bottom with your pricing. Set fees based on your experience, sure, but that also needs to take into account how much training you've done, how much you've invested in setting up your clinic, how much time you put in behind the scenes. So don't feel bad about putting your price similar to others in the area, and don't feel bad about raising your prices if your costs are going up. You should review your fees yearly, even if you only nudge them up a little, because our cost of living is going up, energy costs are going up, and we need to make sure that we can cover those costs. Mistake number 10, finally, is forgetting to build in fun. Make sure that you are getting some time for yourself. Running a solo healthcare practice is hard work, but we're in it not just to provide health for our clients, not just to create an income. This is something that we need to be able to sustain over time, and to make it sustainable, you need to be enjoying it. You need to be having some fun. So celebrate small wins. Celebrate with your clients. As an acupuncturist, as I said, I was actually treating pain management a lot of the time. And if a client said, yes, they're now able to put their socks on in the morning more easily, that was a win. That was a win for both of us. That was a win for them, that they were able to do something that they couldn't do before. And it was a win for me because I'd helped somebody. So make sure that you do celebrate. So just to wrap up today's session, I'm trying to keep them fairly short so that these are digestible in between your clients. Just don't forget that it's usual to make mistakes particularly when we're getting set up, and don't worry about making those mistakes. Just try to look for ways to avoid making the same ones time after time, and make sure that you start in a way that you can keep going. you want to be consistent with your clients, and so you want to create processes, automations, things that will work for you so that you don't make the same mistake year after year. I got closer and closer with my accounts as time went on, as in I got closer to a better position with my accounts as time went on. I've mentioned that that first year I was scrambling to get my accounts done in time for my October deadline, which at least was ahead of the tax deadline. By year 3, I think it was, I was actually getting my accounts done in May. So the tax year ended in April. I was getting the tax records, my accounts done and up to date and submitted to my accountant by May. So, but it took me 3 years to get there. So, just keep going. Please leave me a comment with your own stories, with perhaps any mistakes that you think deserve to be in that top 10 that I might not have covered. And please subscribe for more tips and resources. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon.